going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. That was quick. Finals is already over for the 2024 Dubai Pro. There was really probably less than an hour in between prejudging wrapping up and finals for men's open bodybuilding. So, in 5th place, you had Ollie Edwards. In 4th place, you had Rubiel Mosquera, and we're going to talk about him again in a minute because they did a 4-man call-out at the very end of finals, and that was interesting. In 3rd place, Nathan Diasha. In 2nd place, William Bonac. And in 1st place, a massive, massive victory for Behrooz Tabani, and probably the most entertaining outcome for this show, because these guys have gone back and forth so many times at the 3 shows building up to this. They were all beating each other, and this is one of the results that we had not yet seen. The first time they went head-to-head, Bonac beat Behrooz, and now Behrooz beat Bonac. So these guys have really mixed it up over the past now 4 shows. And this is just a massive win for Behrooz Tabani. I think he beat a really good version of Bonac. I think Bonac, like I said, I think he looked better here than when Nathan beat him. Obviously he did, because Bonac did place ahead of Nathan here. And frankly, I think Bonac looked better here than the first time he went up against Behrooz. So this is a massive, massive win for Behrooz Tabani. I'm actually happy to see it. He's got a very aesthetic physique, like I said, definitely more aesthetic than Bonac. But I think this was a very close and very competitive top 2. So let's talk about the top 4 call out from finals. They actually did put Rubiel in this one, and if you guys haven't seen the prejudging video, which a lot of you might not have because I just uploaded it like 30 minutes ago, and now we're already doing the finals, but you should watch both videos if you haven't seen the prejudging, because I show Rubiel's individual routine in that one. And I will say, to Rubiel's credit here, and really I guess to everybody's credit, because there was such a short amount of time between prejudging and finals, I do think Rubiel tightened up just ever so slightly for finals, even though it was only like an hour in between the two. He looked, I think, a little bit better in this call-out, but still at the end of the day, his conditioning was just not there. I talked about this in the prejudging video, but he just has like kind of a soft, watery, thick-skinned look, and I felt like he was way off. And I honestly think that just because of his sheer muscle mass, because he's clearly the biggest guy in this lineup, pound for pound, ultra muscular, freaky. If he weren't that big, I don't think that type of conditioning would be in this call-out, because like I said, you've got guys like Bonac and Behrooz in this call-out that have crazy conditioning, and I don't even think Rubiel's conditioning was close to that, but his size is just so overwhelming. I think that's what even got him into this call-out. Now, he did end up placing 4th. His pro debut in the IFBB, he placed 3rd, so he actually moved backwards at this show. But again, to his credit, these are guys that are all show-winning bodybuilders. They're all Olympia qualified. And one of the commentators actually made a good point that, you know, most of these bodybuilders have won more shows than Rubiel has even competed in. So it was never going to be an easy win for him. And that's why I kind of said going into the show, I feel like we've got to adjust our expectations for Rubiel a little bit, because I keep seeing all these comments like, he's the next Mr. Olympia, he's going to win the Dubai Pro, he's going to be, you know, a top 3 Olympian this year. And I feel like people just say that because he looks so freaky on social media. He just looks like such a mass monster, and people are jumping the gun. And I've been saying he hasn't really proven himself. He blew off those 3 shows, and I know I keep harping on it, but I do think it's a big deal. And then, you know, the only show he's ever done, he was 3rd. And again, a really good lineup, Samson Dauda winning that show that he took 3rd. But I just don't really feel like Rubiel is there yet. I feel like he's got a lot of work to do. He's got to find the right coach. He's got to figure out his body. He's got to figure out how to bring conditioning. Because even if you look back to like early big Rami, where people kept saying, yeah, Rami's big, but he needs to bring the conditioning. That early big Rami was way more conditioned than what we're seeing from Rubiel when everybody kept saying conditioning, conditioning, conditioning to Rami. And I pointed this out in the prejudging video, but if you look at Rubiel and you watch this comparison, I would say pay close attention to the back poses, because one of the big things that jumped out to me was his lower body in the back poses, especially like next to guys like Beirut and Bonac. You see almost no separation or detail in the hamstrings, almost no separation or detail in the glutes. I think his back double bicep is a pretty weak pose for him. Back lat spread is all right, like I said, just because he's so wide and big. And then even from the front, if you compare the front poses and even the side poses, you can see this too. You talk about deep striations in the chest. When you look at him next to these guys that are in really good shape and have those really deep cuts in the chest, Rubiel's chest in comparison, while he's big and full, looks really, really smooth throughout the chest and shoulders compared to these guys. And even the arms, you can see a lack of detail. But if you look at the upper body and the front and side, really smooth through the chest and shoulders, especially next to a guy like Beirut or Bonac. And even Nathan Diasha, who, by the way, at Neckzilla's pro debut, he beat Nathan at that show. Nathan beat him at this show. So this definitely is a step backwards for Rubiel. And I honestly think Rubiel looked way, way better at his pro debut than he looked here. I think he definitely missed the mark. And whether that's a combination of, like I said, we talked about there was some kind of issue with his sponsor. There was some kind of issue with him being forced to change his coach. I obviously see a ton of potential in Rubiel because, look at the size of the kid. He's in his early 20s, and he's like 300 pounds on stage here, albeit not good conditioning. But he's massive. He is a freak. He is a true mass monster. Insane amount of size. Quads are insane. He is the real deal in that regard. But until he brings conditioning, until he wins a show, I do feel like we got to slow down a little bit on these conversations about Rubiel being the next Mr. Olympia, being unstoppable, being, all these things. He really hasn't proven it yet. And I feel like he's getting a lot of hype just for looking big on Instagram. And I've talked about him in previous videos as he has like this aura about him where he reminds me of like a Victor Richards, these guys that ended up becoming quote-unquote uncrowned Mr. Olympias or forgotten mass monsters, guys that never really realized their full potential, but they stand out in the history of bodybuilding as being these freaks, but never really won any major titles. And Rubiel kind of reminds me of that. He just has that vibe to him because I feel like, and this is one of the reasons why I keep pointing out the shows that he committed to competing to and then skipped. If you're going to skip 3 shows in a row like that, 3 big ones, then the show that you choose to do and actually show up for, I feel like you better bring it. You better look just incredible at the show that you do show up for after skipping that many. And the fact that he didn't do that here, whether it's inexperience or whether it was the coaching situation or the stress or the pressure of the sponsors, whatever it may have been, skipping 3 shows like that and then not delivering, I just feel like is not the move. And then getting off the topic of Neckzilla for a minute and back to Beirut, who won this show. Let's talk about Neckzilla because that was like the big conversation going into this show. But Beirut, I really, really, truly hope that Beirut is able to get his visa this year and go compete at the Olympia. I don't want to understate his victory here because, like I said, I do think he beat a really good version of William Bonac. He beat Nathan Diasha. He beat this hyped up Neckzilla mass monster freak. This was a big win for Beirut, especially beating Bonac, who beat him the first time around. And I think Beirut has really proved himself as having the potential to be a top Olympian if he's able to compete there. So I really, really hope that whatever it takes to get him that visa, he's able to get it this year, because it would be such a shame to win a show this big, of this caliber, again, $100,000 prize money, and I just heard they're almost doubling it next year. It was like $350,000 total prize money this year, and next year it's going to be over $500,000, they said. But I think at this point, with how good Nathan is, how good Bonac is, even, the size of Neckzilla, all of them winning shows, all of them qualifying for the Olympia, all the back and forth they've had, for Beirut to win this big crown in Dubai it would be such a shame if we don't get to see him on that Olympia stage, because I think at this point there's no doubt he would certainly be top 10. And I think at this point there's an extremely strong case he would be first call out at the Olympia. But overall, still very competitive show, very entertaining lineup. Even if Neckzilla didn't deliver, I think he probably learned a lesson here. Still a ton of potential. And I think the moral of the story is Behrooz Tabani deserves to be at the Olympia. That's what I want to see come out of this. I really want to see him compete with the best of the best, because I would say outside of the Arnold Classic, this was the most competitive lineup that we've seen, I'd say, all year. Obviously, the Olympia from last year excluded, but outside of the Arnold, this was the best lineup we've seen. And these were the best bodybuilders we've seen, and Behrooz beat all of them. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon, all that good stuff. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at NickStrengthPower. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.